Robert Plank Show, episode 380. Next Level Mindsets. End self sabotage, money blocks, and other limits to become self aware, discover a bigger purpose, and take consistent, profitable actions with Christy Primmer. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. We're talking right now with Christy Primmer, and she is a best-selling author, and she is motivating the masses to live larger, and she is a chronic advocate for positive change. And Christy is transforming lives one day at a time, and she speaks on stage as a variety of topics, and she helps women and smart men sit in the driver's seat of their own lives. Lots of fun stuff to jump into. So, Christy, glad to be talking to you.
Hey, Robert, thanks for having me today.
I'm glad to have you. And so, what's on your mind lately? What's your focus?
My focus right now is really elevating next level mindset work for myself and for my clients and really helping people take that responsibility for the results.
Okay, so next level of mindset. What does that mean? Does that mean like, not self sabotaging or thinking bigger, or like, what does that sort of involve?
Well, it involves all of that, but honestly, it's thinking even bigger. So what I find is so many of us will get fixated on that next goal and then we hit it and then what's the next goal? With this next level mindset work and the approach I'm taking, it's about having your daily routine set out for you and always fueling your mind for that success and really not just fixating on the goal, but knowing that it's happening, really trusting it's happening, stepping into it, owning the greatness that you have, and showing up as that 2.0 version of yourself.
Perfect. Well, I think I want that. I think everyone listening wants that. So, how do we get that? What are the steps?
Well, the very first step is you've got to get clarity around what that vision really is. And what I find in a lot of work I do with people, and even for myself at times, what I think I thought I wanted is too small. I wasn't thinking big enough. So when you get that clarity around what really do you want, and then from there, committing to it, you make that decision, I'm going to commit to having this. And knowing that, of course, the next thing is taking consistent action. So a lot of times people will say to me, I tried this, I tried that, it didn't work. It's like, okay, so what's next? What is that consistent behavior looking like that's going to take you to that next level, right?
Right. So great. So, had that clarity of vision, commit to it, and then take consistent action. Are those the steps, or is there more?
Well, those are the steps. And then the fourth and final step, I mean, final, I say that lightly, it's never over. But the fourth thing is showing up 100%, especially on the days that you really don't feel like it, picking up the phone, making those calls, mingling and connecting with people, building real relationships. Because for me, that's what success really is about, is having those relationships and being able to be who you are, living life the way you want to, and making a difference. So always showing up. And, when I say even when you don't want to, we're all human. We have days where we just don't feel like it, or we'll dabble a little bit in business growth or fitness goals, whatever it may be at the time. And then we think that's enough. And it's not enough. Unless you're where you want to be, it's not enough. That action has to happen no matter what life's thrown at you, no matter what's going on. You've got to be able to pull yourself together.
Super cool. I'm really interested in kind of diving into that part. That sort of like, how do you get yourself pumped up, motivated, and doing those things, even on those days when it's kind of maybe an off day or you don't feel like it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, what I firmly believe is that you've got to have something bigger than just that goal that fuels you because again, we're human. We're going to have mornings where we want to hit snooze or we, don't want to maybe spend much more time on a certain task that we know we have to do. So it's really thinking outside of even bigger than your why. Why do you want that? Okay, great. But even bigger than that, what is going to change for you when you have that life or that money or that success that you're craving, and really being able to anchor into that, because without that deeper commitment to your vision, you're going to cut yourself slack. And then, not doing something one day turns into not doing it the next day. And then you're on a downward spiral. So, really being able to step outside of your vision and going after that goal or whatever it is you're looking for and committing to it, holding yourself accountable. A lot of people invest in coaches or have accountability buddies, having something bigger than just yourself as the focus. So you are driven and you are hungry to keep going.
Right, I can definitely relate to that. That like there are some days where like things are great and there it doesn't really require much effort to kind of knock out those tasks. But on those sort of slow days, slow weeks, kind of in a rut, things like that, I can definitely understand how having that kind of goal bigger than yourself get you there. So just to make sure that we're all kind of like understanding this, can you share like maybe some of your big goals or some of the big goals from your clients and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, one of my really big goals is I'm starting a foundation to help bring awareness to a rare physical disability my son has. And how I'm doing that is sometimes it's frustrating. It causes a lot of different feelings and mixed emotions. So what I'm doing is looking at the bigger picture, looking at the millions of people I'm going to be able to impact and to be able to, make change for, and really helping myself stay consistently committed to that goal. And sometimes, I'll use a different example. A client right now, she wants to get to six figures. She hasn't hit six-figure income. And what I keep telling her is that behavior that you think you're doing enough, or the mindset you're operating with that got you to a high five figure, will not get you to six figures. And once you're at a six figure, 100,000, that mindset and that, personal routine, daily habits, whatever, will not get you to 900,000. And so being consistent to showing up, really digging in the trenches on those days that suck or where things just aren't going well, a fight with your boyfriend, whatever it might be, where you can really just pull up those socks and say, listen, I've committed to excellence. This is my goal right now. Once I hit that goal, I'm going to feel XYZ, whatever it might be. Step into that feeling now. Step into that emotion now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So it's like kind of look at what your eye is on the prize and don't let those sort of those small hangups get in the way of that big goal that you're leading to. And I can definitely relate to like, we all have kind of personal issues. Like sometimes, stuff comes up in, the house or with relationship stuff or whatever. And like I kind of like look at it as it's sort of up to me to figure out a way to still make it work. So like if the, home life is having happen to be a bad day or some huge event happens, it's like I look at, okay, well, the working on the business, that's sort of the temporary escape to that. It doesn't matter what else is kind of happening outside the office, like it's sort of my escape for that. And then also if things are going great that day, I can say, well, great, let me sort of like kind of ride the wave, and if I'm having a great day in general, why not have a great day in business? And so I mean, one thing that I always sort of struggle with though is kind of finding that, and I don't know if like the term is balance, or I should even be looking for balance, but it seems like you mentioned that feeling of having done enough, and sometimes I sort of say, well, I'm happy today, I made some progress today, I did pretty good, but sometimes I don't feel like I kind of squeeze the most out of that day, or I don't know if I've done enough. So I mean, do you ever come across that, or do you or your clients come across that of sort of like kind of being stuck in the middle of saying like, I could push myself more, I could do more, but I also don't want to be unhappy by pushing myself too much, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, Robert. Makes perfect sense. And yeah, I myself can relate to that. And so can hundreds and hundreds of my clients that I've worked with. What I say to that is, always do more than what you think you can, but do not burn yourself out. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in balance per se. I think that certain commitments, whether it's a relationship, parenting, business building, whatever it may be, friendships, they take different amounts of energy on different days. So I think when we strive for a perfect balance, we set ourselves up for like chronic failure. But aside from that, I really feel like if you're having a great day and you're like, okay, I've accomplished this, right on, things are going, can you do one more thing? Is one more thing going to help you, or is it going to hinder you? And I think that's going to be a self-awareness, a piece of self-awareness within ourselves to know, like, yeah, I can do way more right now. Or you know what? I'm good. I need to go chill. I need to go and actually laugh and hang out and just let loose a little bit. So I think it's really something we need to be aware of within ourselves. But I think we have to be careful not to cut ourselves too much slack, because if we're serious about our goals and our success, we've got to be showing up consistently.
Okay, and it sounds like that sort of like ties back into like, well, you can also have those that coach or that accountability partner, so that even so that you can kind of have that the inside view as well as the outside view, right? So like if you have those goals, you can say, well, am I on track or not, or do I have those goals that are realistic and also stretching me? So that way I can kind of know how I feel I'm doing, but then also kind of see how other people think I'm doing too.
Absolutely. And I think I'll use my fitness analogy. I work out hardcore. I've got two amazing trainers. They hold me accountable. So when I show up and I'm not performing as well as I could or have in the past in my workout, they call me on it. What were you eating? Because usually it's diet. Usually it's something, I've gone off a regime with my diet. They call me on it. And I think of accountability in all things, especially business building, in the same aspect. We need people that get our goal, support our goal, our vision, whatever language you want to use, that will call us on our stuff, that will say, hey, you didn't really do what you had set out to do. What was going on? What did you let get in the way? What were the distractions? But we also need those people that cheer us on, and that's what my trainers do as well. When I'm making progress, they're like, right on, you did this, you did that, you were showing up. And I think when we can find those people, whether we invest in a coach or we really have someone we trust that can keep us accountable, that's awesome. But we must also realize that we ourselves are 100% responsible for our own results. And if we're going to be okay at the end of the day that we did, whatever we got done and we feel good about it, awesome. If we at the end of the day are beating ourselves up or feel like we didn't do enough, that's got to be the guiding principle.
Okay, cool. And so, and I imagine that when you're working with these clients and you're trying to kind of get their mindset sort of juiced back up, or get things back on track, is there somewhat of like a period of growing pains? Like, is there that period of time when maybe they're kind of trying to unlearn bad habits and learn some new ones, things like that?
Oh, big time. Absolutely. And I feel like every next level goal that we all set out to crush, we always have something that we have to work on. And I feel like when we stop self-sabotaging in pursuit of our goals and we really just get aware with what's going on and give ourselves the time to invest in, shifting our mindset and our thoughts and really stepping into, like I said earlier, that 2.0 version of ourselves, it makes all the difference.
So when people are kind of on this journey to become this 2.0 version of themselves and kind of get their goals right and get those daily actions right and all that stuff, like, do you ever see like a sort of like a hang up everyone falls into, or a number one universal mistake?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I've seen it in myself too. I can admit that. It's sabotaging. I see people that are just so close. It's like they're on the brink of that next big win or that big success that they've been hungry for so long. And they start procrastinating, or they start making excuses for why they wouldn't be able to sustain it, or, just stop doing the 100% work they've been doing. And it is a self-sabotage. And I feel like we're all, no matter who we are in this world, are guilty of this at times. And it's being able to see it, catch it, and then redirect that energy and that focus to break through that limiting ceiling that we put on ourselves and to keep going, keep pushing forward.
So see it, catch it, redirect. And so, how do we do this? How do we get ourselves out of self sabotage mode?
Well, I think the biggest thing is again, it comes back to that self-awareness. We've got to be able to see where we're at on this journey, and the goal setting or in the vision that we're seeking for ourselves. We've got to be able to see when we go off track. And sometimes it's not as easy to see from ourselves, right? Like sometimes other people, and that's where we have a coach or we have a business mentor, or, a mastermind buddy or someone that says, hey, you're not doing this the way you were doing it, what's shifted, or you're not showing up, you're not doing this, whatever it might be, right? We need those people in our lives because sometimes we don't see that we're sabotaging. And most times we don't. I don't think anyone consciously says, hey, I'm going to screw myself over, right? I don't think that's a conscious choice, but we do it. And, when we can tune into, taking a couple days off from posting on social media because someone maybe commented a negative comment, they didn't like us, and we're avoiding conflict. When we push past that, and that's just a cheesy example, but it happens. When we push past that and we're like, listen, this is my consistent action plan. This is where I'm not, showing up and where I need to get my butt in gear. And here's why. Maybe it's a fear of success. Maybe it's a fear you won't be able to handle the money. Maybe you're outgrowing your relationships, your girlfriend or your husband, whatever it may be. It's really that self-awareness that we need, but then having the people that we trust in our circle of support and influence that call us on our own stuff.
Super cool. And so I'm sort of hearing two things when you're explaining that. Like, one is sort of break the problem apart. So it's one thing to say, I'm self-sabotaging or procrastinating or making excuses, but then you mentioned in there that, like, maybe there's a real reason why you're doing that, or maybe there's like just one little step that's remaining, and like that one thing is holding you up. So maybe it's like a fear of success or something else. So I'm hearing sort of number one, kind of break that problem down into maybe there's only like one little nugget that's holding you back. Another thing that I'm hearing a lot of is, you mentioning like this sort of plan, and what I'm kind of hearing from that is, have a real plan, have a real written down plan. That way you can see if you're on track or off track, and then if you have that coach, if someone else is kind of calling you on your stuff, then it's like it's not like they're criticizing you or they're critical of you. It's like they're saying, well, here's this plan that you agreed to, you committed to, you wrote it down. If now your actions are not consistent with this plan that you made, I'm not, insulting you. I'm just saying you're not sticking to the plan that you yourself wrote down.
Absolutely. And what I always tell my clients is that's why you paid me. That's why you hired me, because you need me to kick your butt sometimes, just like I have my own coach, right? And I think we always need to be aware of what's going on around us, but most importantly within us. And when we have that rapport and that trust with a coach or an accountability person in our lives, they will know why we want what we want, even if the why changes, because I believe it always does. Their job is then to hold us accountable. And self-sabotage is so prevalent amongst many, many people, men and women. And, if we could shave off some of that time and not have to linger in that self-sabotage, and we have someone that's like, listen, this is what you said you were going to do, you're not doing it, what's going on, and help us break through that, then we can carry on our merry way and get closer and closer to that goal that we're really, trying to attain.
Super awesome. I mean, all of that makes sense. And when you mention that sort of that the cost of self sabotage is that lost time, it reminds me of, like when I was a kid, I did a thing. I was in the Boy Scouts, and there's a thing called the Eagle Scout project where like you did some kind of community service thing, and I planted 100 trees at an elementary school as kind of like a nonprofit sort of project. And they were saying, well, this thing called the Eagle Scout project, how long does it take to do? And the answer was always, well, it could take 6 months, but it really takes a year. Could you spend 6 months actually doing this, and then 6 months kind of waiting around and not really finishing it up? And sure enough, it was exactly the same thing. It was 6 months or less of work, but it took a year to do it, just because of that whole procrastination, self sabotage that took the form of all these different things where I said, oh, well, I have to wait on this, or I have to find time for that, and all these things, when it really just kind of boiled down to self sabotage. So, I mean, do you have any interesting stories like that, or maybe like some time where like you were stuck, and then once either you realized it or someone called you out on your stuff, you said, oh, yeah, I was self sabotaging and didn't really realize it? Any fun stories like that?
Yeah, I actually, I do have one. First off, I gotta say that's awesome that you plant 100 trees. I'm a tree lover.
Cool.
um, I think that's so cool. But yeah, one of the things for me, and I didn't clue into it. I'm pretty self-aware, but I didn't clue into it immediately. And instead of getting fixated on that, I was like, okay, I just bounced back from it. I was getting ready to hit a high six-figure income, and I kept spending more money than I was making. And what I really found, I'm using the money story because people can relate to money. We all want more money, right? I was using money as an escape. So I was just cutting enough, making enough to cover my expenses. But then I was catching myself, okay, well, if I want to have this amount of money, why is there only X amount of dollars in the bank when it comes time to pay all my bills? And it was working with my coach when she was like, listen, that's a limiting money block. That's like, you're afraid to have all this money because you don't think you're going to manage it well, or you're going to think people want you to buy everything for them, which was the biggest hang up for me. And it was really cool, actually, because when I broke that down, I came up with all these reasons why I would not want that money. They were stupid. I mean, they were actually really silly. I mean, things that I was just making up irrationally in my head. They were fears, right? And when I actually could use that to my advantage, increase my self-awareness, I started rolling in dough, signing higher clients, getting higher paying speaking gigs, really open to receiving, right? I shifted my money block and that story that I just shared with you into being open to receiving and trusting that I was going to be financially responsible, and that no, I didn't have to just give people money because I had it, and I could pick and choose the charities I wanted to give to, and just changing that kind of script in my own head, and of course, on the books, seeing the income come in and income go and expenses paid out really shifted that. It was like a glass ceiling, people call it, right? It shifted it for me in such a way that I'm now open to receiving not just amazing amounts of money, but clients that want to invest in themselves, which is the most important thing, right? Being able to help people. So I don't know if that fits the story that you were looking for, but it's something I struggled with for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of good things in there. I mean, one thing that well, I mean, a few things. Like, one is that it sounds like the way you were able to kind of identify this is just to list out the reasons, kind of going back to just like having a few things on paper. Like you had in this head that you had in your head that, you had this limited money block, but once you started listing out like the reasons why you were hesitant, or even you mentioned there like, or like looking back at the proof or the evidence of, the money coming in, that seems like that really helps. And then near the end of your story there, you said that, well, the big picture is helping people. So it's like, well, are you going to really let like one little thing keep you from making the amount of money that you want, and then in turn prevent you from kind of having that bigger goal, that bigger picture? So like that definitely makes a lot of sense. And so, I mean, would you say that it's a good idea for people to kind of do a similar exercise like that? Like maybe if they say if they're blocked with money or blocked for any reason, maybe like list out on paper like a few reasons why they think that is.
Absolutely, Robert. I always say, and I do this for myself, but I always ask my clients to put a list of, whether it's in a journal, a notebook, on their laptop, whatever. What's the payoff of staying stuck or staying where you are right now? Like, what is the payoff? Like, because when we're comfortable and things are okay, we sometimes don't really have that motivation, despite what people think. Gold diggers and hungry people, for success don't always feel 100% motivated. That's just the reality. So looking at what is the payoff right now? Why is where you're at right now acceptable? And then asking yourself a deeper question: what will change in your daily, like what's your new normal? What will change in your new normal that's going to bring you more joy, more peace of mind, greater health, financial abundance? Like, what is it? And I like that question because everyone's answers are different. It's a very unique, individualized exercise. And a third question that I really like to put out there is, what if you had it all now?
Ooh,
What
I
if you
like that.
what if you had it now? Like, what if that next goal, that money, that relationship, whatever it is, or all of the above, if you had it now, how would you behave?
Interesting.
A good one. I would love to hear later from you, in private, what your answers are, because those are questions I ask myself usually, well, it depends when I need to, but usually every 60, 90 days, sometimes more frequently, right? But I set my goals in chunks. That's how it works for me: 30, 60, 90 days. But if you had everything you wanted right now, how would you be behaving? Who would you be talking to? How would you dress? What car would you drive? Where would you live? What would your relationships be like? And then become that person. Just act as if, and not in the foo-foo way of, okay, like I'm broke as hell, but I'm going to act as if I'm rich. No, 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 don't do that. But act as if, feel those feelings, have that behavior consistently, and see how your life changes.
Right, I like it. Like, if you had all that, well, then who would you be talking to now? What actions would you be taking to now? That way, you kind of halfway there to getting to where you need to go. I like it, and it seems
Absolutely.
it ties into what you were saying earlier of like, find that thing bigger than yourself and not just your why, but like, what will that get you? What will that get you? So I mean, it all kind of connects together, and this is some pretty amazing stuff. And so I want to make sure that people heard your advice today and they're amazed. They should probably want to know where your websites are, how they can contact you if they need coaching, or what else they can get for you. So can you kind of walk us through like what you have for us today? What kind of websites? What kind of offers?
Yeah, awesome. So first and foremost, I have on my website, which is primetimecs.com, a free digital day planner. So it's broken into, weekly, monthly, and then I have a gratitude list on there and a priority list, because I feel like sometimes we get so overwhelmed with the excitement of getting these goals crushed, we forget to prioritize our time. And time is not refundable, so it's actually more important to us than money. So there's that on my website, primetimecs.com, and all over social media, Christy Primmer. My company that I'm the president of is actually Primetime Consulting Services, Inc., but I kept it simple. Christy Primmer all over social. Instagram and Facebook are my favorite, LinkedIn as well. And just if anyone's listening to this, they do those exercises, they answer those questions. I'd love to hear what comes up for you or what shifts for you.
Super cool. And is there a contact form of some kind on primetimecs.com so they could submit those answers to you?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Right on
And
contact. Yep.
all right, so the contact and you'll find it. So make sure that, and let me know if I have these questions right. So people should go to primetimecs.com, go find that contact form, and if nothing else, at least just send the answers of number one, what's the payoff of staying stuck? Number two, what will change if you take those actions? Like what sort of like abundance will you have there? And then number three, what if you had all of that now? Are those the three questions that they should answer for you here?
Absolutely, Robert. Perfect.
Awesome stuff. So make sure that you go to primetimecs.com and go there and go to the contact form and answer those questions, and that will put you in touch with Christy. And while you're there, check out her shop, check out what she has for offer, check out that day planner, all those fun things. And once again, their website is primetimecs.com. And thanks so much, Christy, for stopping by and dispensing some knowledge with us.
Hey, thanks, Robert. And I have to say my little tagline. Remember, it is prime time to shine, so shine bright.
Have you heard of Google? How about Google Calendar, Google Drive, or Gmail? Do you struggle mastering these powerful but sometimes scary technologies? Our new book, The Checklist Mindset, makes it simple. It's the next best thing to hiring a full-time virtual assistant. Claim your copy of our book on Kindle at www.checklistmindset.com.